G'day, Nick here again from cpaphire.com.au, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sleep therapy data. What is it and what's it used for? Sleep therapy data shows us how you're using your machine, what your machine is doing to control your sleep apnea, and how well your sleep apnea is being controlled. So what's it actually used for? Well, number one is peace of mind. It's good to see from the data that you're getting a good night's sleep and that your sleep apnea and snoring is being well controlled by the machine. Secondly, we can use this therapy data to fine-tune our clinical settings to make the therapy more comfortable and more effective. And I'll show you a good example of that in a minute. So what are some of the variables and what do they mean? One is compliance, which is simply a measure of how much you're using the machine. You should be aiming for at least 4 hours per night with your machine, but ideally for the full night. For some, you'll take to it like a fish to water and sleep the full night from day one. For others, it may take a little bit of time to build up your compliance. However, the main thing to remember is just be persistent and keep using your therapy every night, as it does get easier with time. Another important variable is the AHI, or apnea-hypopnea index, which is a measure of how well your sleep apnea and snoring is controlled. Apnea-hypopnea index is how many events, whether it be apneas or hypopneas, you're having per hour, and ideally we would like this number to be less than 5, which is considered to be in a normal range. If your AHI is between 5 and 15, it means you're in a mild category, 15 to 30 in a moderate category, and if you're above 30, you're in a severe category. If your apnea-hypopnea index is over 10 whilst using your machine, we may need to look at changing some of the clinical settings or consulting with your healthcare professional. The P95 or pressure 95 is a great variable. It tells us what number we need to control 95% of your sleep apnea. For example, if you have a P95 or pressure 95 of 10, it means in order to control 95% of your sleep apnea, the pressure was at 10 or below throughout the night. It gives us an indication of where we can set the max APAP level. The average pressure averages all the different pressures throughout the night and gives you an average pressure. Snore index tells us how many snores you're having per hour, similar to the apnea-hypopnea index. And the last one is leak rates. Leak rates tell us how much air is escaping from the mask. A little bit of leak is unavoidable, however too much leak can start to cause problems with noise, and it can start to cause the therapy to be less effective. If your leak rates are over 60 litres per minute, it's a little bit high and you may need to look at readjusting your mask, tightening it a little bit with the straps, or just repositioning it a bit. Over time, you'll need to replace some components like the cushion and the straps as they stretch and wear. So let's now go and look at a real live example on how we can use the sleep therapy data to adjust our CPAP settings to make our therapy more comfortable and more effective. Welcome back, Nick here, and I'm going to go through an example on how we can use the sleep therapy data to finely tune our CPAP device. The first thing we're going to want to do is check out the data, and to do so, click the ramp button. This will bring up your data window, and we want our period set to 1 week or 1 month or 3 months. We can change the period by clicking the button and then rotating the turn wheel. Let's just stick with 1 month for now. So from the data window, we can see that the compliance was 3 hours. That means 3 hours per night over the month. The P95 is at 8, which means that in order to control 95% of the sleep apnea, the pressure was running at 8 or below over the month. The average pressure over the month is 6.5. There might have been some times when it was higher, sometimes when it was lower, but overall as an average, it was at 6.5. The AHI is at 0.6, which is extremely good. The apnea-hypopnea index, as you might recall, is how many events, apneas or hypopneas, are occurring per hour. Anything under 5 is good, so to be under 1 is extremely good and means the apnea is extremely well controlled. Snore index is also a very, very low number at 4.6, and the leak rates are really good. So overall, these results are really good. The compliance, however, is a bit low at only 3 hours per night, and we want to be getting that above 4. We've currently got the P95 at 8 centimeters. What we can do is we can go into the clinical settings and we can use this number as a guide to set our max APAP level. That's how high the machine has the ability to go throughout the night. So we know that if it's 8 or below, we're controlling 95% of the sleep apnea. We can go in and we can put that number at say 8 or 9, and we know we're going to be controlling 95% of our sleep apnea over a month. So let's go and do that now. So I'll just go down to home. In order to get into clinical settings, we press and hold the middle button and the ramp button simultaneously for 5 seconds. And then the clinical settings open up. Click down the little wheel in the middle and rotate the dial down to max APAP, which is currently set to 9. So that's a good level to be at. If this was set higher, say at 14, we might want to bring that down to around 9, especially if there were periods in the night where the pressure was waking us up because it was getting too high. Because although the therapy was averaging out at 6.5, there might have been some times when the machine was running at 12. And if that's waking up a patient, we might want to bring down the max APAP, which limits the machine's ability to go up higher than 9. We can currently leave the other variables as they are, the min APAP at 4 and the max APAP at 9. So the machine's going to run between 4 and 9 throughout the night, depending on what's required. Now we can get out of that and go back to the home screen. Note to take out of this is that if we look at our data on a weekly basis, we can have a look at those data variables and use them to configure the min and max APAP to make it more comfortable. And then once you have gone and set that, we can then monitor it day by day after if you'd like, and just make sure that your apnea-hypopnea index is still really well controlled. You can continue to bring that max APAP level down as long as that AHI is under 5. So thanks for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed it and I hope you got something out of it.